All right, well, today we have Cheryl Benson. And so tell us a little bit about who you are, what position that you're running for within the Oskaloosa school system.
Okay, well, my name, as you said, is Cheryl Benson, and I've lived in Oskaloosa since 1970, so I'm almost a native. And I'm running for the school board at-large position, which is being vacated by Carl Drost.
All right, so can you kind of tell us a little bit? Now, you've lived here for a while now, and so maybe some of your education, some of your
Okay.
personal history, so folks get to know
Okay.
Cheryl on a more personal level.
Okay. Well, I'm originally from Columbus, Ohio. At age 10, I moved to Carrollton, Texas, and at age 14, I moved to Morristown, New Jersey, and then I came out here to go to William Penn when I was 17 in 1970. And I've been here pretty much since then. I did leave for a year and a half to go to Ohio State, but then I came back. I got my bachelor's at William Penn in Family Consumer Sciences with a minor in special education, and my master's at Drake in special education behavior disabilities. So I taught for 14 years after getting my degree, and then my last 10 years I worked for the Iowa Department of Education, and now I'm retired.
Retired, but you're still looking for something to do. So
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
well, and you find interest in anything. So on a kind of a more personal level, I know that you do food tours. So if
I
people
do.
have not, explored the flavors of Oskaloosa, you can certainly help them with that.
I can. That was a really interesting thing to do. I had never owned a small business or started anything like that, so that whole process was really interesting of what business owners go through. Now, I just do this all by myself, so it's not like companies that have, employees and things, and it's a lot more complex than mine is. But it's been fun, and working with the restaurants to put the food tour together, they have all been really helpful. And it's just more of a hobby for me, but it's a fun thing to do.
So running for the school board, everybody's kind of has their own perception. So what do you see as your role as a board member?
So the board member to me is a broad oversight of the entire district. It shouldn't be a micromanagement or sticking our nose into every little corner of what's going on. To me, one of their main issues is the budget, so that's a big responsibility. Another one is promoting the school district in the community and giving it a good face. And then who you hire and supervising the superintendent, I think, is a big thing. But the number one job is trying to promote the best education for the students in Oskaloosa that you can.
And then why do you want to serve? I think the most basic question that comes down to why. Because when you put yourself out there, it's tough.
Why the heck do I want to do this?
Yep, exactly.
Well, I always said when I was working that when I retired, I would think about running for school board because I've always been interested in education. And when I taught in Oskaloosa, I was president of the union for a while. And in that position, I used to go to the twice-a-month board meetings, and I did that for about 4 years. And so watching them and how they interacted and the things they looked at, I thought that was interesting. And so I thought, well, maybe someday I'll run for this. So now that I'm retired and I have time, I'd like to do that. I also, when I worked for the Department of Ed, I was in the child nutrition programs. And all the consultants, we have kind of a specialty area. And mine was the food service management company contracts. So I was I was the one who did the RFP, the request for proposal. I rewrote that every year. I sent it out to the schools, and I had to approve those and their contracts. And so I also went out and did reviews, and the oversight from school districts on those companies is not always what it should be. So since Oskaloosa now is using a food service management company, I think that's an area where I could have some oversight on and make sure that it's being done correctly.
Well, so is there a weakness that you kind of hope to fix? So you touched on the food service. Is there anything else that you're seeing there?
I don't think so. I think our school district is pretty well run. I simply want to contribute to it, and I think I bring a lot of experience to the position as both a teacher and having observed a lot of board meetings, and then my Department of Ed experience, so I think I bring a lot more experience than any of the other candidates do.
Okay. So, what challenges do you see for the district going forward?
Well, I think these last 2 years, I don't think you can get much more challenging than that. Unfortunately, the mask issue has become pretty political. The vaccine issue has become political, and I hate to see that. I guess I don't understand. The school district has a lot of rules, and so why this particular one is such a touchstone to people, I'm not sure why. But I don't think it's very important in the big scheme of things. There's so many more things in the district that we need to look at and be aware of and keep our fingers on. I think a lot of, what people have told me is that there are some issues with morale in the district, so I would really like to see that. I posted something the other day about the trades, and so I'm really interested in showing off the trade side of education and making it equal to the college side. So those are a couple.
Okay. Of course, there's challenges, there's positives.
Right.
So what positives are you seeing from the district, and how would you like to build upon those?
Well, I think the house they build every year is a huge thing. That to me is exactly what you want, is that hands-on and basic stuff, and it gives people trade to go into if they want to. So I'd like to build onto that and maybe add some different things besides just the house to that. And I would like to see, of course, us resolve some of the issues with students open enrolling. I was trying to think of the word. Open enrolling out of the district and why that's happening, and try to reverse that trend.
Okay. So how do you see the district playing a role in making Mahaska County better?
The board itself?
Yes.
Well, I think if you make education better, you automatically make Mahaska County better. I mean, education is the basis of everything. I mean, if you look at history and the progress that was made from cave age to the 1800s, there's not a huge thing that really changed in that time. But once free public education came into play, things have just kept accelerating as far as improvements and technology and what's going on. And I think, free public education is the most important thing probably in our society.
And that was, the education was designed at that point in time to fill a role within the public need at that time. Do you think that education needs to go, what does our society need now going forward?
Oh my, that's a big question. I think we just need to focus on teaching students how to think and how to find the information they need to find if they want to find it. You can teach people facts and figures and numbers and data and everything else, but if they're not ready to accept that isn't going to matter. But they need that critical thinking so they can look at stuff and the data and figure out what is actually going on for themselves and find the information they need.
All right, well, we're down to the last few questions here, so
that was quick.
We start to breathe a little easier here. So what role do you believe the school system plays in a child and family's everyday life?
Oh my. Well, kids spend a lot of time at school away from their families. So I think it's best if there's a coordination between those two, if they are kind of on the same page. So I think in most things, communication's the key. So is the district communicating with the households and the families? Are the teachers communicating with those families? And are the families communicating back? It's so much better to come and try to talk to somebody about a problem than it is to go out in the community and spread it around. That only damages everything. It doesn't solve anything, and it doesn't make our community better if we do that.
So how would you impact the culture of the district? And does the district have an image problem, and how would you address that?
I don't know if it's an image problem, and I'm not sure where the morale problem's coming from. I've just heard that, so I don't know what's going on. My guess is these last 2 years have just been hard on everybody, and so I think it's caused morale problems in a lot of areas. But It's really communication. It's talking to people and opening up that communication and not yelling at each other and not name calling, but having a serious discussion. And that's where you get people together and you try to come up with solutions and compromises. And that, to me, once you start doing that and people feel like they're being listened to, their attitude gets a lot better. And once the attitude gets better, it just snowballs from there.
So that's kind of how you would impact the culture then of the Oskaloosa district.
I would try to open communication lines and see how we could do that. So, and see what's already there, and if that's working, or if maybe we need to fix it in some way.
Okay. And this is the toughest one in the whole batch for you. I saved the worst for last.
Oh no.
What's your final thoughts? Maybe something I haven't touched on.
You know, I keep hearing a lot about freedom, and you know, we should be able to do whatever we want. And to me, if you can do whatever you want and there are no rules, that isn't freedom. It's anarchy and chaos. So I think rules and a structure are very important. So I think maybe we need to get that message across.
All right. Well, I thank you for your time once again, Cheryl Benson,
Thank
running for
you.
Oskaloosa School District.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.